Tonight in Ottawa, it's time to win again. The Renegades and the Eskimos are two teams looking to bounce back after a couple of rough weeks.
The Eskimos have something to prove tonight after slipping all the way to 4th in the West and are now just a win up on the Stampeders.
Another great night for it at Frank Clair Stadium. Temperature 28, winds 16 left to right. And the Humidex a sticky 34.
It's been a little heat on Eskimo head coach Tom Higgins in recent weeks. His Eskimos offense has been sluggish, and a 500 football team just does not cut it in northern Alberta.
Joe Papa's Renegades are on a 2-game losing skid after running into Dave Dickinson and the BC Lions in back-to-back weeks. It doesn't matter how young this Ottawa team is, losing is wearing, and wearing thin on the field and in the stands.
It's like Joe Papa has his game face on right now.
Renegades won the toss and elect to receive. This is Dimitris Bendras, Special Teams Player of the Month. A little reverse here. And the Renegades with Ronick grabbing it at the 35. Lucky to save that and turn it into a decent return. 4th straight start for Kerry Joseph, the most popular quarterback in Canada's capital. He won his first game, and since then, the back-to-back losses to BC. Dimitris Bendras into his own as a star receiver. Darren Davis sits out again. That means Josh Ronick will run behind the solid offensive line led by Val St. Germain. 1st and 10 Renegades, just shy of the 35. Shotgun. Maurer flips it back to Joseph. Flick has the catch at the 35. DJ Flick. A little razzle-dazzle, and he gets behind Malcolm Frank.
Ottawa Renegades opening up the playbook early in this game. They go with the reverse off the opening kickoff, and then a little flea flicker. Maurer gets the ball in the handoff, turns around, tosses it back. A similar play to what we saw versus the Toronto Argonauts with this Renegade football team, and DJ Flick wins the battle for the football on Malcolm Frank.
The result, a 47-yard gain. Renegades set up just inside the Eskimo 30. It's Ronick. Bounces off one for a couple, and then he's tossed back. Albert Reese on the tackle.
Edmonton defense still without Steve Charbonneau up front. Boots will move from the end into the middle. Young, Powell, and Sigor Mobley, the starting linebackers, and there is your secondary. Quincy Coleman moves from halfback a week ago out to the corner and replaces Crutchfield.
It's a gain of 2, 2nd and 8 Renegades. Time for the quarterback, and he had his target. No catch. Montana couldn't hang on.
It was nice timing in the hit from the secondary of the Edmonton Eskimos, because that ball was put right on the money between the 8 and the 9 from Kerry Joseph, who drops back, looks off the coverage, goes back to the front side of the play, puts that ball right between the 8 and the 9. But look at the hit coming from behind. Quincy Coleman involved early.
34-yard field goal try. Lawrence Tynes 4 for 4 last week, 20 of 24 on the season, definitely in his range. And the Renegades turn a nice play into the first points of the evening here at Frank Clair Stadium. Settling for 3, Lawrence Tynes has been one of the real good stories of this football team.
One of the best signings the Renegades have made, and he brings consistency to the position. Lawrence Tynes now improves to 21 of 25 on the season, over 80% in the field goal department. You get over 80%, then you know anytime you're inside the 50-yard line, you're coming away with points. Is peace of mind for your head coach.
DJ Flick with a 47-yard gain, and Ricky Ray gets set. Not a big week for Ray against a very solid Saskatchewan Rough Rider defense at Taylor Field on Friday night.
Not at all. Under 100 yards passing for Ricky Ray, and I don't think he would argue with the fact that it probably was his worst game as a professional. But even when whether you win or lose, play poorly or play well, all that matters is the next one.
And And that is this evening in Ottawa. Winston October for the Eskimos. Started at his 10. Nice seam opens up, and October is out across the 35, almost to the 38-yard line. So Eskimo quarterback Ricky Ray has to fire up this high-powered offense. Ed Hervey, Jason Tucker, Terry Vaughn, gifted receivers, and Mike Pringle is on a mission. The O-line is all Canadian, and all of a sudden, that's a rarity in the Canadian Football League. Eskimos beginning at the 37, first down. Ray at the controls. Little fake, nice toss, right on the money, and no catch. Tucker was the intended target, Jason Tucker. And the Ottawa defense wins round number 1.
Well, this is a defense that will rely heavily on that front four to get some pressure on the quarterback. Why do they need so much pressure? Because if they don't get it tonight, they're leaving a whole bunch of rookies in the secondary hanging to dry. 4 of the 5 have an R under their name, that R standing for rookie in that secondary.
And there's also a rookie beginning at middle linebacker, Tony White, for these Renegades. 2nd and 10, Terry Vaughn, the intended receiver, and the coverage was tight on him. Eric Lee has been involved in both plays in the secondary.
Yeah, and both times Ricky Ray has had to get that football out of there. Talked about pressure being the key for the Renegades, and pressure with just 4 players. That time, Fred Perry got in there, number 41, along with Jerome Haywood. And if they don't get pressure with 4, that means they're going to have to blitz, which puts a one-on-one on those rookie secondaries, and that's a tough situation for them.
Demetrius Bendras is deep, special teams player of the month of July, after winning it. That special teams honor again for the past week. He has been sensational in finding a home. Bendras returning with a penalty marker down, back at the line. Mobley has him. Right on the line, back at the 40. That's the penalty marker down. Renegades march for the first points of the evening. A 34-yard field goal. Eskimo coach Tom Higgins barely over a loss in the Grey Cup on home turf to the Alouettes last November, and he has a season that begins like this with 3 wins and 3 losses. Just not what Eskimo football fans are expecting, is it?
And that's why the pressure is on him, and not just him, but the entire football team. They're going to have to punt this again, a procedure call.
High, not quite as deep by Fleming. Bendras at the 35. Surrounded. He escapes. Room to the far side of the field for Bendras. Ran into one of his own blockers. Mobley made the tackle again, and Bendras ran right into Ronick. 43-yard punt and -1 on the return, although Bendras put a few miles on.
Kerry Joseph, in 2 of his starts this season, thrown for over 300 yards. One, the big win in his first start versus the Toronto Argonauts, totaled up over 1,000 yards passing. Ken Austin, quarterback coach here in Ottawa, thinks this guy will be a real star.
Just one problem for the Renegades. They're one of several. Just 1 touchdown in the last 2 games for this Ottawa offense. Nice fake. Got it away. Had a target, and it was just a little bit short. Bouncing into the turf with Bendras, the intended receiver.
You know, I like how they have opened the playbook and the way that the Ottawa Renegades have started this football game. They started with that reverse. They go with a flea flicker where they hand it to Maurer, pass it back, pitch it back to Kerry Joseph and go over the top. Then they're throwing the ball down the field. They're basically, what they're doing is they're planting a seed in the secondary of the Edmonton Eskimos, saying, guys, you could see anything tonight.
3 receivers near side on 2nd and 10. Montana comes open, and he's missed a couple already. Quincy Coleman was covering.
Lack of concentration, John, from Denny Montana. That's 2 big plays that would have kept the sticks moving. 1 down in the scoring zone. Here's Montana, and he's going to work his way and end up in this side of the field, right down the seam against the zone defense. Pretty nice job of getting himself open as he gets in behind coverage there. Now he just has to hang on to the football. That's 2 drops in a row for Denny Montana on 2nd down.
Punting situation. And the new kicker, Pat Fleming, is in. Boomed a couple in his first game. Winston October stopped in his tracks. Fred Perry with a super special teams tackle. There's no return. Frank Clair Stadium tonight. John Wells along with Glenn Suter and Brent Wallace down there in the sideline.
Thanks very much, Wells. Well, defensive veterans Kelly Wiltshire and Gerald Vaughn have been very vocal on the sidelines lately, taking their teammates to task over missed assignments, saying it's completely unacceptable. Well, yesterday I spoke to Joe Powpow, and he told me he's been very impressed lately by the leadership shown by his defensive captains.
Sometimes it's putting your arm around a guy, or sometimes you got to encourage the guy different ways. You know, and that's football. It's such an emotional game, right? And you know what? Yeah, people want to win. You invest too much to let things go by easy. You know, and so when guys need to be corrected or need to, again, to be talked to, hey, part of being a strong leader, a captain, is make sure that, hey, you police from within and you take ownership. But in the same vein, you can't play for the other guy.
Here are the Eskimos with a first down, beginning at the Edmonton 34 on the ground this time, and that's a nice fake, actually, to Pringle, and a high toss for Jason Tucker. So Ricky Ray sent Pringle into the line without the ball, sprinted out, and couldn't make a connection.
It was a nice fake to get Ricky Ray outside with some time to throw, but good coverage again. Eric Lee has been around the football, number 13 for the Ottawa Renegades. Again, one of those rookies in the lineup. Now, he has played a little bit off and on here tonight. All the pressure tonight on that back end for the Ottawa Renegades. So far, Lee has responded well with three plays.
Ricky Ray, 0 for 3. The Eskimos still in search of their first down. Back in a hurry this time. Terry Vaughn makes the catch. Caught from behind. Jason Kralt moving into a linebacking spot. And it doesn't look like Vaughn will have enough for the first down.
Interesting listening to that clip from Joe Powpow and his Ottawa Renegade team. I know he was very upset at the second loss to the BC Lions and their back-to-back losses to BC. And talking about leadership, I found it interesting. Sometimes you got to give him a pat on the back, and sometimes he pauses and says you got to deal with them in another way. And that's, you know, that is
kick.
Swift kick in the backside is what it is. And that's what he's expecting out of his leaders. And certainly Kelly Wiltshire and Gerald Vaughn are two leaders on defense.
Eskimos still in search of a first down. And a punting situation again for Fleming. Bendross drifts back near the 15. Back to the 10. Needs a block. Won't get it this time. Ran right into Roger Reinson, who leads the Eskimos on special teams tackles. Back in Ottawa so far, Brent, this Renegades defense has responded.
Yeah, absolutely, John. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about leadership in Donovan Carter, the safety back there, surrounded by a bunch of young guys, a rookie in the secondary. He said this week he feels more like a teacher, and he'll be making sure out there that he takes to make sure that everybody knows their assignment in the secondary. Guys?
Ottawa first down. Deep in Renegades territory. Back near about the 22. Josh Ronick tries the outside. Takes a hit from Malcolm Frank, number 10. Ronick gets a chance to play one more week with Darren Davis still worrying about his health and a hamstring. There are some worries, I think, in Ottawa that Davis doesn't get into the game often enough these days.
Well, certainly it's something they have to look at. Darren Davis has great ability. Josh Ronick is a solid backup there in that position. His average is 6.2 yards, which is decent. But players have to get on the field eventually, or you have to look elsewhere, and I'm sure that that's really what Ottawa is thinking about right now with Darren Davis.
Ronick picked up 6, 2nd and 4. This will be a first down, and it's Ronick getting it himself. Little extension as Ronick slips around the right side for a 7-yard gain that time. So the Renegades have put together a couple of first downs.
You see, this option is going to work well when you have a quarterback with the running ability of Kerry Joseph, because he will draw attention to himself. You see how he comes out, and Glenn Young is frozen trying to look at Kerry Joseph to make sure he doesn't run the football, and that opens up the pitch to Josh Ronick.
Nice cut by Ronick for a 7-yard gain. This is first down Ottawa. Joseph will put it up. Open target far side. Andre Kerwin has his first catch of the night. Malcolm Frank tested over there, made the tackle, and stopped Kerwin from gaining the first down yardage.
Aubrey Cummings out with the flu. They've had to make some adjustments in the receiving corps, so that's why Andre Kerwin moves over and plays that wide out spot. But I love the play calling so far from the Ottawa Renegades, throwing on first down, mixing in some option, and they've also done some trick plays already.
This is 2nd and 1 Ottawa at the 45. The quarterback himself, and Kerry Joseph, has plenty for the first down.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about with his running ability. At any time, he has the option to pull the ball out of there if he sees the end open. And that was, I believe, a design play to go, a running play to Josh Ronick up the middle. He decided to pull it out and take off, got the first down. Play calling from offensive coordinator Connie Kawai so far. Lots of variety. He's mixed it up well, and he's got the Renegades on the move.
First down Ottawa. Nice play action fake by Kerry Joseph. He'll take off again. And sliding safely for another Ottawa first down inside the 40 at the 39.
Kerry Joseph has simplified things, you can tell. He goes out there with that play action again because the run has worked a couple of times now. The play action, you have to respect it. And he sees an opening and is gone in a hurry.
.6'1", 220 pounds, so he is a force with the ball. And picks up 15 yards. Shotgun this time. Little shovel pass for Ronick. Halfway to a first down, lucky to hang on, perhaps.
Playing with a lot of confidence, Kerry Joseph's 300 games I talked about earlier were right here in Ottawa, home games, one versus Toronto.
That was in his debut as the starting quarterback. Six receiver set. Under the cover, it's Bendras. Dimitris Bendras inside the 15 and out about the 12 and a half.
And right now, Joseph's playing with a ton of confidence. You can tell him he's got poise in the pocket. He makes the decisions very quickly, whether he's going to run or throw. And this time he had quick decision to make because Dimitris Bendras, who came from this side of the formation all the way across, is wide open. There's Bendras. He's going to open up right there to the outside, and now there's not a defensive back within 20 yards of number 86.
23-yard gain for Bendras. Continues as the leading receiver for Ottawa. And number 1 in combined yards as well. Joseph looks to the end zone. Bendras the target. Double coverage. Can't bring it down.
Well,
Donnie Brady was one, Glenn, number 26.
Yeah, it turned into double coverage because Fabian Burke was deep on the play, and Donnie Brady, who's playing the short part of the zone. Here's the pattern's going to go right here. And the short part of the zone over there from Donnie Brady, you're going to see 26 just fall off when he sees the ball in the air. You see how he falls off? And now he gets involved and helps out on the play.
Joseph didn't miss by much.
Donnie Brady, one of the highlights for the Edmonton Eskimos versus Saskatchewan with an interception for a touchdown.
17-yard touchdown in that game last week. 2nd and 10 Ottawa. Joseph has to get out of there. Turns the corner, throws on the run. Montana was the closest Renegade receiver, and there were 3 Eskimos in the area.
That was awful. You see the Kerry Joseph, how he can use his legs to buy some time because Raheem Abdul, number 90, had him. Not the first guy that's coming up. That's Reese. Watch out, 90. He has a good angle on him in just a couple of steps, and Joseph's outside. Now, this is the toughest of the 3 for Denny Montana with traffic around him. And, in fact, it looked like it was knocked down by Quincy Coleman before Montana even had a chance at it.
So the Renegades will settle for another field goal attempt from Lawrence Tynes. This from 19. And Tynes is 2 for 2. Renegades had opportunities for touchdowns. They settled for field goals and have a 6-0 lead. Time for the Eskimos to move the football. First down, Edmonton at the 35. Mike Pringle's first carry. He has 2 yards, and the Eskimos are still in search of a first down.
Well, yeah, when you look back to that Saskatchewan game, the Eskimos didn't just struggle in the passing game. Mike Pringle had just over 40 yards in that game. Now, he only had 11 carries, so when they got behind, they started throwing the ball the rest of the way. But this was an entire offensive shutdown. You got to give a ton of credit to that Saskatchewan defense.
Count a couple for Mike Pringle. 2nd and 8 Eskimos at the 37. Time to put it up for Ricky Ray. Stands up, got it away, low toss. He was pressured. Hervey was the intended receiver.
Derek Ford provides the pressure. He did have Hervey open, but because of that pressure, we talked about it early. If this rookie secondary can get pressure like that, you see how Ricky Ray had to drop back and move forward immediately. He didn't get a chance to set up. Derek Ford ends up throwing him to the ground, but he really didn't have any time to throw, and he's off to a slow start one more time.
Ray 11 of 21 for 93 last week, and it's a slow beginning here at Frank Clair Stadium for the Eskimos offensively again. A one-hopper to DJ Flick, and ridden outs by Robert Grant. Dimitris Bendras, Special Teams Player of the month of July, Special Teams Player of last week. 59 yards punt returns, 85 in kickoff returns, and 105 in missed field goals for huge numbers on returns.
Well, John, I mean, you can't emphasize enough how big those numbers are. I mean, 327 yards combined for Dimitris Bendras. Put that in perspective, that's more than the Edmonton Eskimos had last week in their game offensively. I mean, as a group, that's just one player. That's a ton of yardage out of one player, and boy, he has just taken his game to another level this season.
Well, he's really found himself a place to be happy. Started in Saskatchewan, spent a little time in Toronto, and this feels very much like home. 2nd down. Darrell Ray makes the catch, and that'll be a first down for the Renegades.
And this is a basic pattern from Darrell Ray, the inside receiver. He's just going to break out, and it's a timing pattern. And the whole philosophy behind the throw is to make sure that this ball is in the air just as he's turning in this corner. That's the break point. And when Darrell Ray hits that break point as he goes down right now, right there, the ball's in the air, he turns around and it arrives. And it's tough to defend against a timing pattern like that if the ball is on time.
Renegades have now racked up 133 yards on offense. Direct snap, and Ronick straight ahead for better than 5. 133 yards is decently impressive for the opening quarter. A minute to go now.
Well, and I'll tell you what else is impressive, and it's the play calling and the game plan set up by the Ottawa Renegades. They have mixed in a whole bunch of different looks. That direct snap to Josh Ronick, something we haven't seen all season long from the Renegades. They don't have a lot of points on the board in this fourth quarter, but they have dominated the time of possession.
This will be 2nd and 3. Ottawa trying to get across midfield. Ronick gets the call again, and he'll have the first down. Raheem Abdullah was there to meet Ronick, but they'll move the sticks one more time.
You know, and as we started this game, we talked about the young secondary that the Edmonton Eskimos would be facing over on the other bench in Ottawa. Two things. We talked about pass rush can help them, but if the offense for the Ottawa Renegades can keep Tom Higgins' defense on the field like this, and that secondary has a whole lot of pressure, or a whole lot less pressure to deal with.
A little time to watch the game. This will be the last play of the opening quarter. Kerry Joseph swings it out. Bendras. Almost a first down. He's about a yard shy. Stopped at the 45 by Singor Mobley. So a very solid beginning for the Renegades.
Not a lot of points, but they dominated.
Well, you're exactly right, Glenn. It is 6-0. Could have been much worse, but the bottom line is great start at home for the Renegades. We talked about this in the pregame show. One of the weaknesses could be, or their Achilles heel tonight would be their secondary, and Edmonton would go right after it. Didn't happen that way.
Hey, first 2 plays of the game, Edmonton tested that secondary, and they came through big by either tipping the ball away, getting the sure tackle, or going for the interception. Let's first take a look at the second play of the game. Eric Lee, good decision. He's a little bit in a trail position, tips that football away. Nice job. Now, you see his teammates come around him because they know that that play was going to happen, that he was going to be tested. But also, Jason Corral filling in at middle linebacker for John Grace. That's Vaughn right there, Terry Vaughn. Corral can come, chase him, made the sure tackle. I thought that was huge early in the game. No downfield completed passes against that secondary, Matt.
Chris, great ways to help out an inexperienced secondary. Pressure the quarterback, make him get rid of the football, and also keep the ball away from their defense and not put them on the field. And I think what Glenn Suter said there in the first quarter, he sees the imagination back in the Renegades' offensive attack, settling down the young quarterback. Here you see a 4-receiver set. And it's a nice job of understanding your capabilities from behind the center. They get a great matchup right here. Here you see the defensive end. He doesn't have responsibility for containing. They run a switch. Glenn Young does. What happens? Joe Paopao and his staff, prior to the game even starting, knew that they were going to do this, and this young man's a better athlete, and he will beat Glenn time and time again in those situations. So I couldn't agree with Suter more. He did a nice job, and they've done a nice job of game planning for the young quarterback, Jack.
Well, guys, here's what I'm surprised. I don't know about you guys, but I'm surprised at the way the Edmonton Eskimos have come out so far. Let me put it plainly. If the Edmonton Eskimos lose this game, it's going to be a major disaster for them, and they'll simply be a bad football team. Not that the Renegades are a bad football team. They're a solid team. But Edmonton, after coming off that loss last week, only beating Calgary and Hamilton, you've got to win this football game.
A lot of football left tonight, but they do have to wake up. Let's send you back to Ottawa. John and Glenn.
No problem getting the Renegades ready for this one here tonight. Solid beginning for Ottawa, looking at second down. And less than a yard to go. And that'll be enough for a first down with no flags anywhere. As the Renegades move inside the Edmonton 45, and the numbers favoring Ottawa in every area.
Wow. A quarter of football and not one first down. There's that time of possession advantage I talked about with the Ottawa Renegades, but the biggest surprise so far, not one first down for that Edmonton offense. Like the guy said back in the studio, that is tremendous play out of a secondary that is full of rookies, and they're responding so far after a quarter.
Renegades have made a couple of plays on defense, but more impressively, this Ottawa offense has controlled the ball. High snap. A one-hopper.
Throw it away.
He ate it. Couldn't find anywhere to hide that ball after it went over his head.
Yeah, and I wonder, we were up here going, at that point, it's basically try and get back to the original line of scrimmage if you can. High snap here, pops up over the head from Tim Princeton, and now you're scrambling, trying to get. I'm wondering if you could even get it out of there and throw it without taking a huge hit.
George Hudson.
Oh, I should say Hudson, yeah.
was
I don't want to give.
Was guilty there.
Yeah.
We saw another center have a little difficulty with the high snap not long ago, Mo Elawanibi for Winnipeg, and that turned out to be costly. On the run, and he guns it. Darrell Ray makes the catch, and the Renegades get about 15 back, but they needed a long way to go for a first down.
And it's a good decision, though. I mean, you're not, after a loss like that, you're not going to come all the way back. It's a tough. There's not many plays in the playbook for third and over 20. So you basically try and get the yardage back you can and try and keep that field position advantage that Joe Paopao has had for most of this game.
And even with that gain of just over 9 yards, it's a little back. Here's the new kicker in his second game, Pat Fleming. Puts this one down at about the 7-yard line. Winston October will draw flags, and a nice return. Good hit from Perry. Fred Perry making the tackle on Winston October. A couple of flags down. We'll sort it out and return to Ottawa. Doubleheader on Wendy's Friday Night Football tomorrow. The Lions and the Argonauts in Toronto. The Rough Riders and the Stampeders from McMahon in Calgary.
Damon Allen, 143 yards away from 60,000.
Penalty going to break.
Let him
was
go.
against both teams. Procedure against Ottawa, holding against Edmonton. The re-kick and solid special teams work by the Renegades will pin the Eskimos deep one more time. Keaton Cromartie makes a nice play there. Ricky Ray hasn't had a great beginning. 1 of 5 for 8 yards so far. And a lot of talk in Edmonton about the interchangeable quarterbacks. The starter doesn't like it.
I don't always agree with when I get pulled. I'd like to be able to stay in there and battle through some of those hard times out there. I think it'll make me better as a player. The only thing, negative that I don't like about the two quarterback system is I never get to battle through those bad times. So, when they do come, I can't look back and say, well, remember when we fought back and came from behind this game? I can't do that because it seems like every time I've done that, I've gotten, pulled, and then other guys came in to do it. So that's one negative of it.
These are those bad times, I would say.
Well, and make no mistake, no player, doesn't matter the position, hates to be pulled out of the game. Whether you're struggling or not, you want to be able to battle out of that. That's what Ricky Ray is saying. Now, Tom Higgins has said he wants to stick with Ray as long as he can in this one before he goes to Bart Hendricks.
Pringle, no gain. This is 2nd and 10, and Ray stands in. It opens up. He'll have a chance to run for the first down, and there are penalty markers down in the coverage area back near the 45. The middle linebacker, Tony White, finally tracking down the Eskimo quarterback.
And one of the reasons, you talk about the pros and cons of pulling the quarterback out. It doesn't matter really what the reason for it, whether he's struggling, whether the team's way up, and exchanging quarterbacks. Well, if you're building quarterbacks, and that seems to be the team policy with the Edmonton Eskimos right now, and trying to develop the younger ones and bring them along like Bart Hendricks, then you're trying to toe the company line. The downside is when you get on a football field, whether it's a defensive huddle or an offensive huddle, you want to feel like it's the us against the world mentality. And you got to do that with the same group if you can.
Ricky Ray's run will stand for a first down, and the Eskimos haven't had many of those tonight. Ray stands in. That was the first, in fact. And a marker down at midfield, another penalty flag down.
The newest of the rookies in the secondary, Tyree Sam's going to get called for pass interference here, either that or illegal contact. Either way, this is going to go against Tyree Sam.
He's playing his first game, so he's a raw rookie, although there is some NFL experience in his background with the Bengals.
Forward pass interference. Ottawa number 27. First down.
And he got one-on-one with Jason Tucker and basically just tackled him around the waist, slowed him right down, and was called for the interference. And this is what's going to happen with a young secondary. They're going to make a few mistakes like this, and in some cases it's better to have a penalty like that, not give up 6 points.
Well, we were expecting the Eskimos to work on some of these rookies a little earlier. That's a 27-yard gain for Edmonton after Ray's run, and there's nowhere for Pringle. Wiltshire was there.
Mike Pringle said to me before the game, I asked him about Saskatchewan. I said, what happened in Saskatchewan, Mike? He said, we just didn't match the Saskatchewan Roughriders' intensity. He said, first of all, not a lot of people want to give Saskatchewan Roughriders their due. That's a good football team over there. But he said, we can control the intensity level of our own team, and we didn't match theirs. And he said, that will never happen again.
2 for Pringle, 2nd and 8 here. Flags down. Ricky Ray steps out and has a strike near the 30. It's Terry Vaughn. And Vaughn will have plenty for a first down, depending on the penalty markers, but there are 2 down. Tyree Sands, the rookie, was over to cover and make the tackle on Terry Vaughn.
Terry Vaughn just will keep working to the quarterback. Ricky Ray was trying to buy himself some time there, and Terry Vaughn just keeps running plays and keeps running, keeps his feet moving until he presents a target.
Repeat second down.
Terry Vaughn is on the outside of your screen here. He's going to be right up here at the top of your screen. He's going to run it out, and then when he sees that Ricky Ray's in a bit of trouble and scrambles, he has to find a way to get open. Watch out, he comes up the field, He's still up here on the top of your screen. He runs the out, then he turns back inside. I got to get open somehow. Finally, he's there. Now the penalty brings it back, but that's Terry Vaughn working to get open.
Eskimos were offside, so that makes this 2nd and 13. Edmonton back at the 51. Ray has time. Throws under the cover. It's Ed Hervey. Shakes one tackle. And caught from behind by Jason Kraltz. He gets an opportunity for a little bit of action with the injury to John Grace, who's on the sidelines one more time. Tony White is actually filling in the middle, but Kralt comes in on passing situations there.
Good call defensively, though, John, from the Ottawa Renegades. Watch how this secondary now is going to get off. They've got second and long situations, so they back up out of there, play a little zone, and the idea there is to have the Edmonton Eskimos throw the football underneath and then rally up to make the tackle short of the first down.
3rd down and a punting situation as Sean Fleming is in, standing at his own 45.
The hands in.
Dimitris Bendras takes a short kick near the 20, recircles. And by that I meant he started one way and went back the other.
I had you.
Kind of a recircle.
A recircle.
Glenn, surprising what a couple of first downs can do for you. The Eskimos have field position. The NFL, Jets and Tampa Bay kicking off with the American Bowl, 5 o'clock Saturday, 5 a.m. Eastern time. Renegades on first down, pinned deep in their own zone. Nice little swing pass for Ronick. Squirted away for an extra yard. Brady making the tackle.
Well, you mentioned that field position. This is really the first time all night when you look at Kerry Joseph's numbers, pretty good start for him, but it's the first time all night that he started from this deep in his own end. I mean, you're down inside your own 20-yard line now, and it tends to feel a little more pressure when you're down there. That was a pretty nice throw, though, on first down.
Gain of 2, 2nd and 8. Ottawa. Motion near side, and the Renegades were a little early. Bendras for one. Darrell Ray for another. Right at the line as the ball was snapped.
Procedure. Ottawa number 52. Still 2nd down.
George Hudson called on procedure, which is difficult when you're the center. Because it all starts with the center.
The center gets to move first.
That's right.
Put the ball in play.
And he likely moved. What he did is he probably put his hand on the football, lifted it up, moved it around a little bit before he snapped it. And that can deliberately draw the defense offside. I'm sure George Hudson, after that high shotgun snap, just trying to concern himself primarily with making sure that his quarterback gets the football. It's a tough position to play when you're the center. You've got to make the calls up front. And what that means is as the defense changes their formation and moves around, you've got to make sure everybody's lined up and picking up the right people. You got to get the ball to the quarterback, and then you got to make your block.
Injury timeout as the Eskimos attend to Donnie Brady. Eskimo halfback Donnie Brady up and off to the sidelines. Injured a couple of plays ago.
Yeah, it looked like he banged his knee up. It wasn't this last play, but the play before that, tackling Josh Ronick, 26 CAs, comes down right hard on that right knee. And as he turns Ronick to the ground, he'll turn around and grab the knee immediately. Now, he stayed in for one more play, trying to chase Dimitris Bendras on a go pattern, and just pulled up.
Renegades are looking at 2nd and 13 now, back at the 11-yard line. Talk about field position. The Renegades do not have it right now. Shotgun. Joseph stands in, looking deep. Gideon draws the flag. Fabian Burke was covering.
Fabian Burke comes in for Donnie Brady, and they go right after him on the first play with a wheel pattern, a wheel route to
Forward pass interference.
Gideon.
Edmonton number 19.
Sharon Gideon draws it.
First down.
And he's on the outside going down the sideline. Sharon Gideon is is one-on-one, as it turns out, with the new guy. Fabian Burke in the lights on the left of your screen, and Burke has just got to control his body. You see how he keeps running. When Gideon tried to stop, he tries to stop to go for that football and just ran over him.
Net 38 for the Renegades, and out of a big pile of trouble. Under the cover this time. It's Gideon again, and he's more than halfway to a first down. Glenn Young, number 55, made the stop on Gideon.
Sharon Gideon made a nice catch there. I mean, that ball had some heat on it. That was like a fastball with a full count, and he somehow pulled it down, caught the back half of the ball. It's 2 catches in a row for Gideon.
And just 3 for 49 yards coming in. It opens up for Kerry Joseph, head down, and an easy first down for the Renegades near the 45. Moving the chains again. Shannon Garrett had to come up and make the tackle.
Joe Paopao calling the plays. He's got his offensive coordinator, Connie Kawai, right beside him to help him out with that. And then the eye in the sky is quarterback coach Kent Austin.
Boy, and Kent is having a good time, isn't he? Every time we bump into him. In his first coaching experience, taking care of the quarterbacks. A little reverse. Bendros turns the corner. Super speed. Demetrius Bendros ran into a waiting Eskimo, Malcolm Frank, at the 20.
That's just tremendous speed, John. You nailed it, because 2 things about this play. One, Demetrius Bendros showed how fast he really is. He's coming from this side. And the other is Seth Dittman makes a great choice here. He's going to come out and try and lead at number 64. And as Bendros comes out, watch 64 pull up and not take that clip. He would have put Raheem Abdul right in the back, and he knows that Bendros has got a ton of speed, so he pulled up on it, made a great decision, and let Bendros just outrun the angle. There's the decision right there. He let him go. Bendros got outside of it.
The gain is 26 yards. First down, Ottawa. Naked bootleg. And Joseph has 5, maybe 6 yards on that run. A.J. Glass, who was a healthy scratch last week, back into the lineup.
See, John, what happens when you establish a running game, you're going to draw a whole bunch of people on play action. And you're going to see Raheem Abdul, number 90, and Genty come flying in there. Watch as they go and buy on that fake. Shad Genty just bites hook, line, and sinker, and out goes Joseph to the outside. And it looked like he hurt his left leg a little bit on that sideline.
6-yard gain, 2nd and 4, Ottawa. 3 receivers near side. Josh Ronick has a couple, and he'll be a little shy of the first down. See where they spot the ball and how close the Renegades actually get here. Decision time for Joe Paopao.
Well, they're going to bring in the sticks, and anytime you're within a yard, the coach can call in the sticks to see just how far away he is for the first down, because it is a big decision. Renegades have controlled the time of possession, done things offensively, mixed it up, moved the football, but they haven't come away with all the points. There's the distance he has to go. Now it's decision time for Joe Paopao.
It's a yard necessary for the first down, and Paopao looks like he's going for it, sending in Mike Maurer for 1. And Ottawa fans like the call.
His quarterback weighs 220 pounds.
Renegades go gambling on 3rd down and a yard to go. The ball spotted right at the Edmonton 10. Ronick. He'll have the first down. On second effort, however.
It was, and it was a gutsy call and a good one, because it worked. And I'm not talking about gambling. Gambling inside of a yard, you go for it. But Kerry Joseph on the quarterback sneak is the one that you probably predict would happen. He goes and hands the ball 4 yards deep in the backfield. Josh Ronick on second effort gets it anyway. Sometimes, though, John, sometimes when you do that on short yardage and hand the football off to your tailback in the backfield, he will hit a crease and score with it, because the defensive line submarines on the snap of the ball.
1st and goal to go, Renegades now. at the Eskimo 8s, and Joseph is piled up. Ball springs loose, but after the whistle had gone.
Well played from the backside. Dorian Boos involved in pursuit is what stopped that play from the Edmonton defense. Dorian Boos is a nice luxury for a head coach when you have a guy who's played defensive end for 3 straight games, and then when you have an injury can move inside and be equally as effective.
Second down and goal to go. Here are the Renegades at the Eskimo 8. Joseph out of the cover. Ronick has it one-on-one. Can he get to the end zone? Yes! This guy does nothing but score touchdowns. Josh Ronick, 5th of the season. 3rd rushing touchdown for Ronick.
Now that's a real nice move in the open field for Josh Ronick. I thought I counted 3 Edmonton tacklers with a chance at Josh Ronick in the backfield, who's going to swing out this way. Here he goes, dumped off. Now it's 1 on. There's A.J. Gass. There's Singor Mobley. Quincy Coleman trying to get involved. And there's the 3rd, 4th one coming over. That's Grant from the safety spot. Josh Ronick with some nice moves in the open field.
Fancy footwork for Josh Ronick. 3rd receiving touchdown of the season. He also has 2 more rushing into the end zone. How about the Renegades on top by 13? Nice first half for number 30, Josh Ronick.
Josh Ronick with some nice moves in the open field and a lack of communication from the tacklers. The Edmonton Eskimos go ahead and run it, guys, and right when he catches his ball in the flat, you see how there's a lack of communication here. See right here, A.J. Gass has got to get outside, and then Mobley can fill the hole. And if Mobley can communicate that to Gass, they have a tackle, but you see how they both jump outside to try and contain Josh Ronick. He cuts back on both of them for the touchdown.
Very impressive scoring drive for the Renegades. They began back inside the 15-yard line. At the 10, Winston October trying to get the Eskimos back in this. And he's the kind of guy who can do that out near the 40 and forced out at the 41-yard line. Josh Ronick making the catch and finding the end zone. Leaving 2 Eskimos stopped in their tracks.
And you see the pass, too. Impressive from Kerry Joseph. Because you see how he threw that ball just in front of Josh Ronick, so he didn't have to turn his back to the tacklers. He caught that facing the tacklers, and that's why he was able to make some moves in the open field.
The Eskimos need to respond soon. 3:06 till halftime. Edmonton not on the board yet. The Renegades have scored 3 times. Ricky Ray still at the controls, and that doesn't work very effectively. Corey Bailey made the catch, but there was no yardage after that. Gain of about 5. Lots to talk about from the Renegades bench so far tonight. We'll take a break with a half, about 3 minutes away, and get the inside scoop on what's transpired here so far tonight. In the meantime, it's 2nd down and 5 to go. The Eskimos. Terry Vaughn looks for the first down and comes up with it. He's at the 50.
Coming into this game, we talked about the pressure on the Renegades defense with 4 out of 5 rookies in the secondary. And when you look at them statistically coming into this one, last in a couple of major categories, including passing yards per game. And yet they've responded very well. And football is always about the challenge that you face the next day, and the challenge on this secondary, they responded so far.
Gain of 6 yards, first down Edmonton at the 50. Renegades have given up too many big plays. Corey Bailey making the catch there, and he'll have another 5 yards.
And when you look at tonight's numbers with the Ottawa defense, tonight's numbers a lot more impressive. Just 40 passing yards allowed so far and 19 rushing yards. And 40 passing yards against this receiving core with rookies in your secondary, that's saying something.
But 2:07 to go till halftime. And Ricky Ray smells opportunity here on 2nd and 3. Mike Pringle will be stopped short of the first down. We'll see where they spot the ball. Actually, he's fairly close. Perry was at the bottom of the pile, close enough to go for it. If it's not quite there, it will be 3rd down.
Yeah, Tom Higgins needs some momentum in a big way. Danny Machocha, the offensive coordinator, is trying to get the right set on the field. It's interesting dynamics when the coordinator, he just wants the formation out there. The head coach talks to the officials. He is out there making sure they get the right call.
There is a little pressure on in Edmonton, as you see. It'll be a first down for the Eskimos. Ray himself for the 6 inches necessary.
Those sideline officials,
they've heard it all.
I would just put earplugs in, because it doesn't matter really which bench you're standing in front of.
Well, they don't like if you're standing down there, do they?
You're going to hear something.
Eskimos haven't hit the scoreboard so far tonight. 1:34 to go. Lots of time for this Eskimo offense to get on track. With Ricky Ray at the controls from the shotgun on first down. Here's the heat on Ray. Will they get to him? They forced the throw. No catch made. Coverage too tight. Hervey was the target. And the newcomer, Tyree Sams, in his first CFL game, was covering.
Well, and it's the way he's covering as well, because Tyree Sams, remember, early in the game had an interference call. This is a tough throw from Ricky Ray. Somehow he gets it out of there. He's on head Hervey now. He's patient. He waits. Now he puts his hand right across and punches that ball out of there.
Pretty nice one-on-one coverage. 2nd and 10 Edmonton. Eskimos looking at 1:21 till halftime. Key down here. Shotgun. Ray to his right. Looks over the middle. Will come close to the first down on the reception made by Corey Bailey.
Typical pattern running against the zone defense, John. And Corey Bailey is the guy who's got to open up in the window. And there's windows all the way across that secondary. They're going to play a little zone with those young DBs in Ottawa. You see how Ricky Ray's rolling out. And that's that window right there I'm talking about, in between Gerald Vaughn and Donovan Carter.
Close enough to measure.
And if it's close enough to measure, it's close enough to gamble, usually.
Well, and particularly for the Eskimos in this situation, with the way the opening half has gone and the last couple of games have gone, and basically the way the season has gone, in some ways with a 3-3 record coming into week 7.
Well, certainly everything offensively that they have tonight, they've had to work for in a big way. Some injuries and a bunch of injuries and some personnel changes at Ottawa defense, and playing well so far tonight.
So it will be 3rd down.
Just over a yard, probably, but not much over.
It took no time to make the decision. Eskimos are at the Renegades 30. And no flags. That'll be a first down, Edmonton.
Ricky Ray didn't get a whole lot of momentum behind that pile.
Didn't seem like he had great traction going into it, did it?
But where they place the ball, that'll be just enough. And that line that the tip of the ball is on is the first down marker. So just enough. Tom Higgins trying to get them to break the huddle in a hurry. The clock is running right now.
Time runs down on the Eskimos. Set up with a first down at the Ottawa 30.
Ricky Ray had to call a timeout. He didn't have the formation he wanted. He broke the huddle when he wasn't ready to.
Edmonton.
Tom Higgins was yelling from the sideline. The clock was running. They weren't organized, didn't have the right formation. So Ricky Ray had to use that timeout. Now he talks to Machocha, and there's Ricky Walters from the bench now coming on, and that was the difficulty. Every offensive series of plays will have a certain formation with it, and that means that you have to have the correct personnel on the field.
Eskimo offense 41 yards on this drive, and prior to that It took almost the entire first half to get that many yards. Still no points on the scoreboard as the Eskimos look.
They've gambled twice on this drive on third down as well.
From the shotgun. No one home for Ricky Ray with 34.5 seconds to go till halftime, and Jason Tucker was the target. The ball was into the turf.
But John, the Renegades on that play got pressure on Ricky Ray with just 3 pass rushers. They're going to drop everybody, and this time they're going with just 3. They show blitz and then drop out of there, and it's a 3-on-5 pass rush. And one of the 3 get there. That was
Ricky Walters actually speaking.
That's the intended target, but if you get pressure with a 3-man pass rush, you can have some success.
2nd and 10 Edmonton, just inside the Ottawa 30. Ray stands in, and he'll have a first down at the 15. Jason Tucker brings it in there.
Eric Lee was right there, though, and Jason Tucker had to really work for that football. It was Jason Tucker that Edmonton tried to open the game with a real deep pass, and Eric Lee knocked it down. This time Tucker's going to work across the middle. Eric Lee's been matched up on Tucker all game long, and he is right in his hip pocket. Tucker has to battle for this football and wins the battle.
24 seconds till halftime. First down Edmonton, the toss. Touchdown. Jason Tucker has the touchdown, and that's more of what we were expecting from this Edmonton Eskimo offense from the outset tonight. An impressive drive culminates in a 15-yard touchdown.
And that was the first mistake from the Ottawa secondary, and Tucker took advantage of it. He worked hard for that crossing pattern in a one-on-one situation, and this time got in behind the coverage on zone. He read it perfectly and got right to the right spot.
All-Canadian Jason Tucker just getting back into the lineup last week with a couple of catches for 12 yards. On the season, just 17 for 227 until that touchdown there. And the Eskimos have a converted touchdown on the board now. And it's a 6-point game on Wendy's CFL Live.
Edmonton puts 3 receivers to that side of the field, and Jason Tucker will be the inside receiver right here and end up running a corner pattern and just a communication problem between Massine Lewisdor up top and Chandler Smith. And you can see that no one is deep, and 3 defensive backs are up in the short coverage. That's just a broken coverage behind it. Tucker takes advantage of it. Ray recognizes it immediately and puts the ball right on the money. That's some momentum for the Edmonton Eskimos heading in at halftime.
An impressive drive for Ricky Ray.
Well, and maybe the difference tonight, John, is that Tom Higgins has allowed Ricky Ray to battle out of some early problems. And now he looks like he's starting to get in a bit of a rhythm. He hasn't changed his quarterback, and his quarterback just put together a 10-play drive that covered 70 yards.
Tucker with a 14-yard catch. And a couple of receptions on the drive totaling 29 yards.
In that first quarter and a half, Tom Higgins had good reason to make a quarterback change with the way they struggled. Decided to stick with Ricky Ray and just paid off with that drive.
Demetris Bendras returning on the final sequence of the opening half and dragged down by Robert Grant by the shirt tails with 9.6 seconds to go until they fire the gun.
When you have a 10-play drive, you can build on that. That's confidence now. Ray's numbers starting to look a little bit better, and his completion percentage improving.
No errors. The 1 touchdown toss. So he hasn't given up the ball.
Well, and what it is more importantly is they go in at halftime, and now they have something to work with. They have something formation-wise, play calling, that they can go in and build on for that second half.
On first down, Renegades. Ronick along the ground for a couple.
And John, the Ottawa Renegades, on the other hand, just go in at halftime and say, guys, listen, we played a tremendous half of football. Controlled the football on offense. Defensively, our young secondaries played very well. They've hung in there. Everything Edmonton has they had to work for. Just keep battling. And when we get in the red zone, not field goals. Think Majors.
There were 2 of those field goals for the Renegades in the red zone and just the 1 touchdown, but it was an impressive drive for Ottawa. That should be the last play of the opening half.
Good solid home football game for the Ottawa Renegades, who so-called experts weren't giving a whole lot of chance in this one.
And the Eskimos coming back and getting the touchdown late.
Yes, the so-called experts. A lot of people thought this game would be going exactly the opposite. Edmonton finally puts together some kind of drive, and it gets on the board to make it 13-7. But the story of this half certainly was the poise and control that Ottawa showed, particularly with their offense. Right from the opening snap, Jock, with that flea flicker, it was almost as if they were saying, hey, we're ready to go. We're not worried about this one. Let's talk about the touchdown.
Yeah, it's just like Coach Kwani drew it up. He wanted to start the game big and then control the football. But, you know, for the Edmonton Eskimos, I'll tell you, there's nothing that drives coaches crazier than players who are sitting there waiting for other players to make plays and showing a lack of effort. This touchdown right here, I mean, I can't believe this. Right here, Ronick is 8.5 yards away from the end zone. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Edmonton Eskimo players against 2 Renegades, and Ronick would give him full credit. This is an incredible run by this young guy, but what are the defenders doing? Why are there all these guys standing around hoping somebody else is going to make the tackle? This is going to be something that someone's going to be embarrassed about, Chris, at film time tomorrow.
A funny comment, because you're right. One team is really in control and another team is out of control, and a little bit surprised at the reaction of head coach Tom Higgins here. I'm sure this was a justifiable emotional explosion on the referee, but this is not Edmonton Eskimo football. I mean, you got to have your Rolaids, your Tums, your Alka-Seltzer, your Pepto-Bismol, and your Maalox, because this is going to make you age fast in the coaching situation. And Coach Higgins, as much as anybody else, has to get it together and remain calm and win this game if they do in the fourth quarter. Very surprised that this Edmonton Eskimo team hasn't been able to execute with the better ability, more efficiency than they have so far, Manny.
Yeah, a little bit of pressure there, maybe a little frustration showing there. But, you know, I can understand his plight there. I've yelled at that official. I've yelled at Jake Ireland. I felt that passion. And when you want to win so badly and you put so much time and effort into it, those things tend to happen. But on the other side of the football field, or right next to him, you can see Joe Pow as he conducts his football team. Here he is. He's saying, bunch, belly, yes, dig. Let's go crazy. Circle around. Circle the wagons. Circle the wagons. And basically that's what they've done here in the first half. Joe Pow has done a masterful job, along with Ken Austin and his football team and his staff, of giving his young quarterback good situations to be successful in. Nice job of the imagination once again coming back into play in the Renegades offense.
Now, make no mistake, the Ottawa Renegades, Joe Pow, Eric Tillman, and the coaching staff, they were very concerned about their injury situation going into tonight against the Edmonton Eskimos. But they said, we're still going to come out and play hard, and that's what they're doing. Here's Josh Ronick, his 3rd touchdown of the season, tied with Ben Dross for the team lead. And on Wendy's Friday Night Football, tomorrow night, it's a doubleheader. BC is at Toronto. Saskatchewan is at Calgary. 6 hours of football. Settle in. You see Damon Allen there, 143-yard passing yards, away from 60,000 for his career. And the other big story in that game is that one team is getting some key guys back. Toronto gets Michael Jenkins and Daryl Mitchell back for their offense, while BC will have to do without their starting quarterback, Dave Dickinson, and without one of their leaders on defense, Carl Kidd.
Yeah, in a situation where Carl Kidd is basically handcuffed because he's got both hands that have been banged up and had surgery. He's not playing back there. You lose the defensive leader and the offensive leader. But I think this may actually be, down the road, a good situation for the BC Lions to be in, because we know what Dave Dickinson can do. And when that finger gets healthy, he'll be fine, and they'll pick up where they left off. And Jock, I think it's a situation where Spurgeon Wynn now gets a chance to get some playing time underneath his skin, which will help make this team stronger with more depth down the road.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the way the Lions play under adversity, because I've been thinking the last few weeks it's been pretty evident that the Alouettes are the class of the East and the BC Lions are the class of the West. The Lions are the team to beat, but is that Dickinson or is that the entire football team? And Schultz, now we're going to find out whether this is a team or whether this is just one guy leading that team.
I like Toronto in this game because I think their secondary is playing as well as any secondary in the league. So I think it's incumbent on the receivers of BC to come through the big game. The next game, the one in Calgary, that one's going to be huge because they have 7 straight Western Division games. They got to start getting on a roll because they're starting to become a little bit of separation between the top and the bottom in the West.
Yeah, Schultz, you couldn't believe more. I'm looking forward to that Saskatchewan game, watching that defense fly around again.
Yeah, I'm sure Scott Milanovich is looking forward to that as well. He'll be starting for the Calgary Stampeders tomorrow night. Due to injuries to Frederick, and of course Crandall. Got a soccer game going on here apparently, boys. There's the Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Big
Up
feet.
ahead to the Easter Bunny.
You got to say that in English accent, David.
Here are the halftime numbers there, Matt.
Oh, thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
Hey, you got a young secondary. Best way to keep them in check, keep them off the field, control the line of scrimmage and the clock. Renegades doing a great job of that. In fact, no first downs for the Edmonton Eskimos in the first quarter. Unbelievable.
Renegades head coach Joe Pow has a lead at the half. He spoke with our Brent Wallace.
Well, Coach, you almost got into the locker room without allowing any points. However, you've got to be impressed with the way your defense has played in the first half.
Well, the key thing is, we're stopping them on second down, and, they've got a lot of potential on their team. So, if we can keep them off the field, same time squeeze down and don't let them convert, we're going to be okay.
Was the offensive creative play calling part of the game plan going in tonight?
Yeah, I just want to move the sticks and, make some plays, and, they just happen to execute them. So, we got to continue to go that way.
Thanks very much, Joe.
Well, Edmonton finally got some execution there in the latter stages of the half. Ricky Ray's 12th touchdown pass of the season.
An entertaining first half on Wendy's CFL Live with the Renegades on top by 6. Let's go down to Brent Wallace.
Well, Coach, that last drive before the end of the half must have really put some enthusiasm back in this team. Gambled twice on third down.
Well, if it's short yardage, you have to convert those, and it's nice to be in the game. Defense has been able to make enough plays to keep it close, and so we're looking for a pretty good 30 minutes of football here.
The one question mark would be the running game. I think Pringle had 4 carries or 6 yards or whatever. Is that something you're going to have to work on in the second half?
Well, if it doesn't work, if we have to throw the ball and move it, we're going to do it.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck second half.
Thank you.
Upbeat Glenn, no question about it, considering how angry he was on that touchdown drive.
Well, he had something to build on at halftime. That long drive for the touchdown gave them something positive to talk about.
Renegades set to kick it off. Second half is underway. Brock Ralph for the Eskimos began at the 15. Flags are down early, and so is Brock Ralph at about the 35. A couple of markers go down. So the Eskimos will be marched back a little ways. Slow start for Ricky Ray, but he got it going for the touchdown drive when it most mattered.
Well, when you look at Ricky Ray, a lot of his yardage was in that last drive. He had a 70-yard drive, and trying to sort out penalties on the field. Renegades.
Offside. Ottawa number 27. Illegal block. Edmonton number 22. Re-kick.
Have to kick it over, and this is tough on your cover team. Have to go and do it again, but Ottawa Renegades won the toss, and when they did in the game, they decided to take the football, and so the Edmonton Eskimos, with virtually no win tonight, take the football in the second half, try to get their offense back on the field after that long drive. See if they can't continue to build on that momentum.
So Lawrence Tynes,
3 for 4 in that 70-yard drive. So 3 of those 8 completions came in one drive.
Tynes takes it a little deeper this time, and this is Winston October across the 10. Ran into a herd of Eskimos and several Renegades as well. Stopped at the 32-yard line.
Terry Vaughn hasn't had a whole bunch of action. I've watched Terry Vaughn a little bit tonight in the first half and was open on a bunch of occasions. Ricky Ray just went the opposite way with the football. And really, Tucker has been his #1 target and was on the scoring drive.
Corey Bailey, one of 2 flanked wide to the near side on first down, Edmonton. Ricky Ray puts it up, looks for Bailey, and the coverage was there, and the pass just a little bit off.
Lewis Dorr was stride for stride, and going right down the sideline was patience used patience when the ball arrived. There they are on the outside. Nice big cushion for Massine Louis-Dor. Now, he's one of the rookies in that secondary that have played for most of the season. But when you say most of the season, you're talking about 6 games, and that's pretty good patience, just waiting for that ball head outside position, and that's where the ball ended up.
Again, Bailey and Tucker flank to the near side on 2nd and 10 Eskimos. Tight coverage. Tucker makes the catch in front of Wilshire. Kelly Wilshire came over the top and couldn't knock it loose. It'll be enough for a first down on an 11-yard gain.
Yeah, he went over the top and he played the ball completely. He decided not to try and wrap up with that other arm. He was coming from behind. Kelly Wilshire is right in the middle of your screen. He's going to drop down there. He reads it perfectly, jumps up into it, and you can see how Jason Tucker, though, comes back just a half step to the football and reaches out to get it, and that's why Kelly Wilshire couldn't get his hands on it.
Tucker has the Eskimo touchdown tonight. Mike Pringle did not run effectively in the opening half. Clinton Wayne wraps him up there.
Well, they've sort of sprinkled a little Mike Pringle into the offense because they've been behind after a half of football. And he's just going to try and take this delayed drop in the middle. Clinton Wayne folds down underneath it pretty well.
Just 7 yards for Pringle tonight on 5 carries. And 1 yard there, making this 2nd and 9. So Ricky Ray has to put it up near side, looking for Tucker. Oh, took a hit, almost held on, lost his hat. Donovan Carter, the Renegade safety, came over and put the hit.
Wow,
on Tucker.
That's a huge play from the safety because Donovan Carter started near the line of scrimmage. Here he is here now, but he started up here and then rolled back to it. So he rolled back, showed blitz, and watch how much ground he covers. Right in the middle of your screen. He's right in the middle of the field. Now he comes all the way across. That ball hangs up there and pow, right in the air, knocked the ball out.
That's Carter's game, no question about that. The only veteran of the Renegade secondary, Donovan Carter. And he hasn't been around all that long as a starter either when you look back over his career.
Oh, tremendous range on that play.
Third down punting situation, whistle down.
Time count violation. Edmonton number 11. Still 3rd down.
So Fleming will move back to the 25 after taking the delay. Ben Ross back for the Renegades, standing at his 30. 2-time CFL Special Teams Player of the Week so far this season, including last week. So here's Ben Ross. Cut down. Solid tackle upfield by Mike Bradley. 42 on the punt, 0 on the return, thanks to number 22. Number 91, Dorian Boose, leads the Eskimos in sacks so far this season with 4. Purelator sack leaders continue all season long. For every sack in tonight's game, Purelator will contribute the quarterback's weight in food to the local food bank. Purelator tackles hunger.
Will anybody be able to catch the Montreal Alouettes in that department?
On a tear with 31 already this season. Nice fake by Kerry Joseph. Under the cover, Montana hangs on to one. Danny Montana makes a clutch catch there.
It's a big one for 2 reasons. One, you move the stick. The other is confidence for Denny Montana. 2 drops early in the game that would have resulted in 1 touchdown for sure, and who knows about the second one because 1 was in the end zone. So Denny Montana had not been a target since then, and this is a big catch for his confidence over the middle. It was a tough one. Quincy Coleman was breaking downhill on him. Came up with a big one.
21-yard gain, and the Renegades are out at the 50-yard line. First down, Ottawa, shotgun. Josh Ronick for 3, maybe 4 yards. Raheem Abdullah, number 90, making the tackle there. Getting a chance, and he has decent numbers on the board so far tonight, Ronick.
Yeah, and his running in the middle and then Kerry Joseph running to the outside has kept that Edmonton defense off balance just a little bit.
2nd and 7. Ottawa leading by 6. Bendros made the catch. He won't get the first down. Robert Grant comes over to make the tackle.
Well, the Renegades went with an empty backfield. That means no backs in behind. And in behind Kerry Joseph, all the receivers out on the field. And Bendros happens to be the third one to the right side of the formation. Grant comes from the safety spot, a long way to travel, but he makes a nice tackle in the open field. And that's tough to tackle when you got Demetrius Bendros on you.
Bendros grabbed 4 there. Renegades come up shy. This will be a kicking situation and a high boomer by Pat Fleming. October bobbles it, loose ball. Renegades have it. Montana has it.
Maybe his biggest catch of the game.
Rolled right into his hands. Montana on the fumble. Renegades are in touchdown territory. 1st and 10 from here. Costly error for the sure-handed Winston October.
I think he lost it in the lights here, because as this ball comes down, let's stop it right there. See, Winston October is still looking out here this way. I think he lost focus in the lights. It went right through the basket and out the bottom, and it bounced right to Denny Montana.
1st and 10, Renegades set up at the Eskimo 9-yard line. Joseph, no one to throw to, cuts it back in, actually gets back to the original line of scrimmage, and that's all. A critical time for a team like Ottawa, 2nd season in the CFL, to punch something into the end zone when you get an opportunity like this. And that play didn't look like it was well thought out, or at least well executed.
It wasn't well executed because Kerry Joseph, by rolling that hard to the left side of the formation, really eliminated all but 1 or 2 receivers. One of those receivers and his primary target was Denny Montana, and he had so much problems and so many troubles trying to get off the line because of Quincy Coleman.
2nd and goal to go. Renegades back now to the Eskimo 10. Ottawa has settled for field goals in touchdown territory twice tonight. This is the touchdown toss, and they won't get there with this one either. DJ Flick made the catch and couldn't turn around. Frank was there, and Glenn Young came over in support as well. So it'll be 3rd down and a field goal situation here.
Well, Kerry Joseph had Demetrius Bendros on the backside of the formation. This is the front side now. He's looking at this guy, Denny Montana. He's trying to see if Denny Montana is going to get open underneath. And he is briefly, and then jumped by Grant. And at the top of your screen, Demetrius Bendros from the backside of the formation. He was open.
Lawrence Tynes, perfect tonight. Looks for his 3rd field goal. This from 11 yards, sharp angle, and he has it. So the Renegades settle for 3 when a 6 would have looked awfully nice on the scoreboard.
Well, yeah, and that's a win for the defense is what it is when you're talking about the intangibles, when you're talking about momentum, and you're talking about trying to capitalize on it. It's a win for the defense. When you get the ball inside the 10, you can't punch it in for the major. And you can tell that right there in the expression of Joe Palpal.
Doubleheader on Wendy's Friday Night Football. We'll be in Toronto for the Lions and the Argonauts, followed by the Rough Riders and the Stampeders. That's an important game for Calgary in particular, isn't it? Second half of the doubleheader tomorrow night on Wendy's Friday Night Football. Eskimos on 1st down. Slanting in. Ed Hervey.
You know, that play is designed for a couple of reasons. One is to pick up, 5, 6 to 10 yards on 1st down, but the other is to set up the progression in that series, which is the fake to Ed Hervey, the pump fake on a hitch, and to try and go deep in behind the coverage to Terry Vaughn. They often work together in our right now, and that's Vaughn right at the top right there.
Rookie Ray over the middle this time. He'll get the 1st down. Jason Tucker inside the 40 of the Renegades.
You see, Gerald Vaughn was in a tough position in this coverage because of the way they're playing this cover 1, which is 1 man in the middle free. That's Donovan Carter. So because of that, here's Donovan Carter free in the middle, and Vaughn is going to be over here. Now, because he has help by Donovan Carter, he's going to play outside shoulder and let Tucker give Tucker the inside position. Now when Tucker kind of runs away from him all the way across the field, almost impossible to cover.
Jason Tucker picks up 27. The Eskimos are inside the Ottawa 40 at the 38. Little screen pass to Pringle after faking it to the running back, and he'll come up with his first down of the night. Most positive yardage for Pringle on the evening so far. Jerome Haywood would make the tackle there, number 99.
Just like you mentioned, that's Pringle in the backfield. He's the only back there, and that defense will key on him. They slant to the middle, and then as he fakes it and comes up underneath, it takes a while for those Renegades to recover, scramble back over there and make the tackle.
11 yards for Pringle. This drive continues for the Eskimos, with the Renegades leading 16-7. Edmonton trying to answer the field goal with a touchdown here. Ray has time, and he has a target. Terry Vaughn breaks one tackle, breaks two, looks to the end zone. He's inside the 5 to about the 4-yard line.
So you can't just hit Terry Vaughn.
No, you better make a tackle, and Chandler Smith finally did.
Well, a lot of times, you know, you think if you come up and you hit a receiver, that's when he goes down. And with Terry Vaughn, he's right in here, and he's going to just go out here and catch a quick one. And look where he catches it. You got to tackle him. You got to wrap up, and you got to tackle him. You can't just hit him, because he's hit 3 times. He's just not tackled.
Gain of 22 yards to set the Eskimos up, 1st and goal to go. Ball spotted at the 5. 3 receivers near side. It's Pringle into the middle, and he carries about 3 with him for a couple of yards. Clinton Wayne was on top of the pile.
This is a interesting way for Danny Machocha to involve Mike Pringle. He gets the ball on a running play. We've seen that many times, but now we've seen Pringle a couple times in this series get out of the backfield and become a receiver. And Jason Kralt has played a little middle linebacker, and Danny Machocha maybe want to get that matchup and see if he can't get Mike Pringle outside of the formation.
Pringle picks up 3. The Eskimos have 2nd and goal to go from the 2. Pringle again. Touchdown. The Eskimos complete another drive, and Pringle caps it off. A little more like it for Mike Pringle, at least in his mind. I mean, you've got to get this guy the football, and when you do, good things often happen.
John, that was an impressive 2-yard run. That was, and I'll tell you why it was impressive, because he took a huge hit from Fred Perry. Number 41, Fred Perry is going to come down, and you're going to see him just slide off and put a great hit right there on Pringle, but he keeps those legs churning and goes to 2 yards for the major score.
Just a 2-yard run, but an important touchdown for the Eskimos, converted here by Sean Fleming, as the Eskimos, who were down 13-0 at one stage, have crept within a couple of a hometown Renegade. Edmonton's Mike Pringle, 2nd all-time in career touchdowns in the Canadian Football League, tied with Alan Pitts at 117.
That last 2-yard touchdown just tied him with Pitts. 20 back now, George Reed. He'd have to get on a tear to get that record this season, but certainly is possible.
He is a man on a mission, however, as you saw in his eyes when he finally got his hands on the ball here in the second half with some authority. Returning for the Renegades, Josh Ronick out across the 30. He stopped at the 37.
Just love the intensity of Mike Pringle after he came off the field there, and he was up and down that sideline. And I think this hit right here from Perry, it maybe just woke the Giant.
$117 career touchdowns in Mike Pringle's CFL career, spanning 14 seasons. A little fake, and DJ Flick makes the catch for a couple of yards as Maurer took the fake and went into the line. Joseph pulled it out and has a couple on the reception by Flick.
Yeah, and then that's that same play that we saw Edmonton run, where they go with a hitch pass to the wide receiver. And the player in beside DJ Flick on that one was Demetrius Bendras. So if Kerry Joseph decides to pump fake that one, and go deep. Bendros would be the target.
They actually mark it out as a gain of 4. So this will be 2nd and 6 Ottawa. Renegades from the 40. Kerry Joseph. Shotgun, time to throw, and he's got his target. Sherrod Gideon couldn't hang on. There's a penalty marker back at the line of scrimmage.
Well, the way both teams are walking, looks like it's going against the Ottawa Renegades.
Offside. Ottawa number 83. Repeat second down.
That's Darrell Ray, one of the wide receivers.
Puts him in 2nd and just over 10. And it's almost, you never hear the wide receiver going offside. The reason being is that he's standing right beside the official, and he always checks. He always turns to the official and says, am I okay? Official says okay, then you go.
DJ Flick with 2 other receivers to the near side on 2nd down, just more than 10. Joseph stands in, sees it open up. Oh, what a run by the big quarterback. When you're 6'2" and 220, you can get away with things like that.
And he looks like he was banged up a bit as he went down and dove over that pile. But what a move he put on Glenn Young in the open field. And remember, he played a little running back with the Washington Redskins. And you can see big 55 right there. Now he's going to end up getting himself caught in open field. He drops in the coverage. And now when Kerry Joseph takes off, watch this move. Look inside, and then bam, real cut out to the outside, and there goes Glenn Young down on the field. Whoa. And that's where Kerry Joseph took the hit.
Tried to do the high hurdle over number 55.
He is limping as he gets into that shotgun position right now.
Ronick, left side. The Renegades have run really well tonight. And it's been those 2 guys, the quarterback number 4 and Ronick number 30.
Yeah, but John, the concern has got to be right now for Kerry Joseph and the way he's limping, and 2 things that will be affected. One is the running ability. You mentioned Ronick inside and Joseph outside. Together they're tough because it keeps you off balance defensively, but if you eliminate Joseph running because of that limp, now that defense can focus on Ronick a little bit more. So watch closely and see if Kerry Joseph can get through this.
Ronick picks up 13. Renegades are set up. First down just outside the 45. Fakes a Ronick. Darrell Ray makes the catch, and this will be another Renegades first down.
Yeah, and Kerry Joseph is in pain. He is in a bunch of pain right now. He was very deliberate when he turned around, and you know, they have a lot of confidence in Romero Miller, the backup quarterback. Certainly hasn't seen near the reps of Kerry Joseph, but you've got to give Joseph a bunch of credit right now for hanging in there. I mean, he is playing in a ton of pain. He threw that football and grabbed the knee again.
For now, Joseph remains in. He has the Renegades on a roll. Direct snap goes right to Josh Ronick. And Joe Paopao has thrown in a few wrinkles tonight. Nothing that hasn't been seen before, but something that's not seen every evening.
Yeah, and whether it's Ronick or Kerry Joseph running or one of the receivers catching the ball short and running, they're making the first Edmonton tackler miss every time.
Second and a couple. This will be a lots for Ronick.
There it is again, and Singor Mobley just barely hung on, and Ronick probably scores.
Ronick gets to the 15, and the Renegades really would like to punch this one in for 6 as they continue this march.
You know, the Edmonton Eskimos defensively have been in position to try and corral Josh Ronick, but again, when they've been in position, Ronick has been able to make the first guy miss and get into the second level. First level is the defensive line. Second level is the linebackers. You get in that second level, you're in that second and medium, second and short position.
Renegades continue to run at the Eskimo defense. It's 1st and 10 Ottawa. Batted down. And Joseph is wrapped up as well. Albert Reese got a hand on the ball.
And it is a hot, humid night here in Edmonton, and it may be starting to affect this defensive line play. Albert Reese, number 95 right here. He's just going to step up the field. He can't get there, so he jumps, times the jump perfectly, and knocks it down. Edmonton Eskimos very efficient at knockdowns at the line of scrimmage.
And Dorian Booth had a hold of the quarterback by the ankles. This will be 2nd and 10. Renegades at the Eskimo 15. Joseph takes off. End zone toss. Oh, should have been a touchdown. DJ Flick had that one bounce off his fingertips. And you got to hang on to balls like that.
Well, DJ Flick was distracted just enough by Quincy Coleman. And I think that bounced right off his face mask.
Almost for the Renegades. And that's 3/4 done in Ottawa.
Almost. That's a key word today or tonight, John. A lot of almost. They've had to settle for field goals when they've been inside the red zone. And here's another case where they haven't been able to close the deal. We'll see what they come up with on this drive. I want to revisit the theme that we talked about heading into this game, and that was the young Ottawa secondary. How are they holding up?
They've held up very well so far, David. I mean, obviously, Edmonton has put together a couple of drives where their veteran leaders at the receiver position have stood up. But here, on this particular play, we're going to see Bailey at the bottom of the screen try a hitch and go on the young cornerback. And he does a great job of reacting to it. Lewis Dorr simply plays the ball. And here, on this play, you're going to see Carter come across from the safety position. We talked about safeties having both the ability to dish out pain and great range. And there you see, actually, Carter do a little bit of both. He got over there, made the play, as well as delivered a punishing hit.
He just missed him, man. He didn't get him all there. I would have loved to see him make full contact there. I tell you what, Terry Vaughn, we talked about him and taking a leadership role in the locker room and on the football field. Here we see him do it on the football field, doing it with his athletic ability. We've seen this time and time again, breaking tackles, getting his teammates pumped up with his effort on the football field. This leads to 2 plays later, Mike Pringle scoring a touchdown. And Chris, you know, we see young guys like Jock talks about in the secondary for Ottawa making plays. We see a veteran, Terry Vaughn, making plays too for the Eskimos.
You know, Matty, all the time we talk about football players, you have to be mentally ready, physically ready, but you have to be emotionally ready. I want to give a classic example of a player that's ready to play football. All you see is the end zone shot of the huddle of the Edmonton Eskimos, and then Jerome Haywood starts clapping his hands, dropping his knees, ready to play. The big difference in this game, I think Ottawa's emotional level is a lot higher than Edmonton's.
Yeah, they've been emotionally ready, but they haven't been able to close drives with touchdowns, and that's the reason we've got ourselves a 2-point game heading into the 4th.
Renegades have been close all night long from the opening quarter and settled for 3s instead of 6s. And here is Lawrence Tynes again, a 22-yard try. Tynes has been perfect all night long. But when the Eskimos finally got the offense rolling, 6-pointers were going up beside the Edmonton name on the scoreboard. So Tynes adds to the total for the Renegades. And no question, this Ottawa team has played well. They just haven't had the finish.
Well, yeah, and that's been the problem tonight, because in the last 2 games versus BC, they were in the red zone 3 times, came away with a touchdown and a field goal. Tonight, this is the 4th time they've been inside the red zone, and the 2nd time a pass that should have been caught was dropped in the end zone. One by Denny Montana, one by DJ Flick. And Quincy Coleman just distracted Flick enough, and he lost focus on that football right at the wrong time.
The drive took 5:54. We've got a quarter to go, and Ricky Ray back at the controls for the Eskimos. Takes a hit as he fires, completes to Terry Vaughn, and he's to the 45.
Matt Dunnigan talked about Terry Vaughn at the break, and this is exactly case in point. When you talk about Terry Vaughn and the leadership that Terry Vaughn will give you, not only in the locker room, but you have to lead by example. And Terry Vaughn is starting to lead by example for Edmonton, because he won't let the first guy tackle him either.
Leadership was challenged on this Eskimo football team by the CEO, Hugh Campbell, in the past 48 hours or so. He was looking for leaders after the Eskimos' 3-3 start. Tipped. No markers anywhere.
You know, and again, another thing the guys talked about was this secondary, and Eric Lee has put together a very good game tonight. And the other thing about this secondary, yes, they're young, they're rookies, they're getting a chance to play and show something, but General Manager Eric Tillman has also brought 3 more defensive backs in and is in the process of signing them. So every one of those defensive backs on the field today, this is a tryout for them. They're all eyes are on them.
In game conditions against a pretty fair offense when it's on track. 2nd and 10 Edmonton. Ricky Ray has Tucker, and Tucker spins to turn that into a first down near the 30. Eric Lee over to make the tackle. 13 yards the gain.
You get a chance to audition, you want to make sure you put on a show, and so far defensive backs across the board have done a pretty nice job. Now Ricky Ray has got a couple of drives going. This is one of them, but until this point they've hung in there, and Eric Lee has been the leader.
This Eskimo drive continues from the Ottawa 32 now. First down. Mike Pringle, a little drop. A penalty flag went down. Fleiser in a backup role along that defensive line over to make the tackle. He's the Eskimo leader on special teams tackles. And a flag right along the sideline.
Offside. Ottawa number 34. Repeat first down.
And that was Tim Fleiser.
And Joe Palpal's got to be proud of his secondary. However, Ricky Ray is starting to get back on rhythm, and the numbers are starting to grow for him. And it's up over 200 yards now. He's got another drive going, and the Eskimos on the doorstep once more. I think this is really their 3rd drive of the game.
And looking at a very positive situation here. 1st and 5. Just outside the Ottawa 25, with Pringle getting the call again. Well covered by the Renegades front group.
They covered it well because they made Mike Pringle wait and go laterally along the line of scrimmage this way rather than just try to hit a hole. Mike Pringle runs north-south better than anybody. But if you can get his shoulder pads turned to the sideline like he is right now by stringing it out, which is exactly what Derek Ford does, you've got a chance. And puts him in 2nd and 6.
Derek Ford the tackle. A little help from Donovan Carter. 2nd and long. Shotgun. Ricky Ray got it away to Terry Vaughn, slanting in, and Vaughn stopped by Carter. The spot will be very interesting here.
It's going to be real close. In fact, I don't think they'll even measure it. It was just over that line, and that's a first down for the Edmonton Eskimos. And Donovan Carter wraps up Terry Vaughn, but not until he had first down yardage.
Now from the 21, the Eskimos with a new set of downs. Trailing in the ball game from the very outset and threatening to take the advantage and the lead here and now if they can continue this drive. Ray stands in. No one on the left side, goes to the other side of the field. And it'll be a touchdown toss. The indication is down there. Jason Tucker has the touchdown.
And Ray's starting to get in that rhythm. Jason Tucker worked a long way back to get open on Chandler Smith. Chandler Smith scrambled. He tried to recover, but he didn't get there in time. You see how Ricky Ray looks to his left. Nothing's there. He wanted to go to Terry Vaughn, who was covered on that side, so he comes back the opposite way, and here's Tucker. He keeps working. Chandler tries to catch up and can't get there in time.
Couple of touchdown receptions by Jason Tucker, 1 of 15, that for 21. And Ricky Ray has turned it around. A very slow start, but Ray has been firing on all cylinders lately. Eskimos have responded after falling behind 13-0.
That's Terry Vaughn, right, the inside receiver, forward to that side of the formation. You can see Ricky Ray look to him all the way. He's going to run the corner pattern, but watch the coverage he draws. Right on the upside there is Donovan Carter, number 2, St. Louis door. So Ray is forced to go back to the opposite side of the field. See Ricky Ray looking that way. It's not there. Okay, I got to come back. Keep my composure. I'll find an open guy. How about Tucker?
2 for Tucker tonight. Renegades behind for the first time all evening here at Frank Clair Stadium. And the biggest problem for Ottawa has been opportunities missed deep into the Eskimo zone when the Renegades have settled for field goals instead of touchdowns.
Another concern for Ottawa is the play of Ricky Ray of late, and that's another 7-play drive. It's another big drive that took 4 minutes, so they're on the field a bunch, and they finish with the touchdown. And Ottawa has to try, and this is their next challenge now for the Renegades. Try and combat Ricky Ray, get him out of that good feeling that he's in right now, and also mentally fight off the fact that you've come away with just field goals.
And hope that Kerry Joseph is okay, limping a little bit on the last sequence. Looks fine as he looks deep here. Montana was looking for a flag. It doesn't come down. Quincy Coleman's coverage was okay.
It was good. It was perfect, as a matter of fact. And you can't cover it any better. And Denny Montana wanted a call. A lot of the fans here in Ottawa wanted a call. But this is pretty good coverage to the right corner of your screen here. They're hand fighting. They didn't let him hand fight. And then he turns back to the football and turns around. And it's right up here in the top corner of your screen here. And that's perfect position. Inside, turn when the ball's in the air. And you can't cover any better. Quincy Coleman.
Renegades 2nd and 10. This drive started at the 31. It hasn't progressed anywhere so far. That one is tipped and intercepted. Picked off by Robert Grant, who took one back for a touchdown earlier this season. And Grant is inside the 15. It was tipped to Grant.
Worm is turned.
Sherrod Gideon.
And the Edmonton
and it go through
secondary.
his hands. And the Eskimo secondary comes up huge. Rob Grant, a couple of interceptions so far this season. Both have been big plays.
You know, the disguise, all the guys on the same level right here is tough to read for the quarterback. And then as the snap of the ball gets back there to Kerry Joseph, he lets it go. It floats a bit on him, and a nice one-hand grab by Robert Grant.
45 on the return to set the Eskimos up right here just outside the 5-yard line. 2nd and goal to go. 6. This will be the touchdown, and that's Mike Pringle into the end zone. They scored quickly, didn't they?
Talk about execution from Ricky Ray. Well, he had to deal with the pass rush right in his face. Fred Perry was there in a heartbeat, and Ray had to make a split-second decision. Fred Perry, number 41 right here. Ray's going to come out here, and as he turns around after the play action, he has about half a second. One steamboat bam. There's Fred Perry. I got to get it out of there, and he does.
The Renegades with a 13-point lead. At one stage, the Eskimos could do nothing right. They stayed with Ricky Ray. They found Mike Pringle. They found Jason Tucker a couple of times too. And the Eskimos have scored a bunch in succession for a huge lead at 28-19.
And now Mike Pringle is second all alone in the touchdown.
Number 1-8. It's not that the Eskimos needed to be reminded to discover Mike Pringle, but when they finally did, he has been a factor and has his 118th career touchdown.
And that puts him in second all by himself. Now he just has to catch George Reed, and he's chasing Mr. Reed in a couple of categories. All-time rushing yards and touchdowns. And here's another look at it. He has one on the ground now and one through the air.
A couple of catches for Pringle tonight. And that for a touchdown as the Renegades look at the scoreboard now, trailing 28-19. And need a big return from Josh Ronick. Not bad, out across the 45 to the 46. Missed opportunities for the Renegades so far this evening. The chances early on when touchdowns were fairly close, or at least there was an opportunity for 6, and 3 points were settled.
Oh, yeah, well, without a doubt. I mean, Kerry Joseph has played well, and his numbers don't reflect that because he has had a bunch of drops. That last interception by Robert Grant, you give that one to the quarterback. It got away on him a little bit, but he's had 2 touchdown passes flat out dropped.
First down, Renegades, 35. Batted down, no catch, far side. DJ Flick was the intended receiver, and the Eskimos have turned this around.
You know, Rashad Ginty gets his hands on that one, and he's the newcomer in that defensive line. This is a line that has this uncanny ability to knock the ball down at the line of scrimmage. Coming in, 11 knockdowns by the D-line. DBs had 8 for a total of 19. They've had a couple tonight. They're up over 20 now.
2nd and 10. Another one almost picked off. Maurer was the intended receiver, and the middle linebacker Powell was there. Kelvin Powell with his opportunity.
Well, what's great about this is that Kerry Joseph, look, where's Kelvin Powell? You don't see him. He's not there. Where is he? Oh, he's in the line, and he drops out of there. You see, that's disguise from Kelvin Powell. Because was he in the line of scrimmage like that, Kerry Joseph stops counting him in the coverage. He drops back there. Kelvin Powell drops out. He doesn't see him coming. That's almost intercepted.
Pat Fleming punting away for the Renegades, and the Eskimos will have good field position on a return by Winston October out across the 45. 7:56 to go. Time to start thinking about the Rogers AT&T Player of the Game, brought to you by Rogers AT&T Wireless.
Well,
you can cast your vote that way. Go.
If you're going to make your vote in the first half, you probably wouldn't have picked Ricky Ray. Now, if you're going to make it now, well, he's a good candidate.
E15 might get some votes the way he's brought the Eskimos back from a 13-point deficit. Look at the first half.
Yeah.
78 yards, paltry. Second half, 156 and a couple of touchdowns. And he's got the ball again. He's got a target again, and it's Jason Tucker once more.
And he's still doing this with pressure in his face. We saw earlier Fred Perry had him on the touchdown to Mike Pringle. That time he was being chased by Keaton Cromartie, and he's making these quick decisions with that 4-man pass rush, still really getting it done for Ottawa. He's just getting the ball out of there in a hurry.
No question, a very sluggish start for the Eskimos. But Ray has turned it on. 7:10 to go now. Another Edmonton first down. Ray reverses his field. Tracked down from behind and hit. Keaton Cromartie got him from behind, and Eric Lee got him from the front.
That was a broken play. That was a broken play from the Edmonton Eskimos. They turn around. Ricky Ray wanted to go with the handoff, and he wanted to go to Mike Pringle with it, and Pringle was too wide.
On a receiver. Ottawa number 2. First down.
See Mike Pringle in the backfield. He's trying to go that side of the formation. He turns around to give it to him, and Pringle's way out there. In fact, Pringle put his arms up like he had the football. Keaton Cromartie chases him down, and there's going to be a penalty for a late hit. Not that one, but in the middle of the field from Donovan Carter.
Illegal contact on a receiver.
Yeah, and I think that illegal contact, if I saw it out of the corner of my eye, was he ran over a receiver. It was Jason
That's
Tucker.
illegal, right? You
Yeah.
can't run them over.
Not unless they have the ball in their hands.
So the Eskimos will have another first down. Just outside the 40, and Mike Pringle gets it again.
Oh,
huge collision. Donovan Carter on Mike Pringle. Carter loves to hit. Lost his lid.
Oh, man. Well, he's going to get a taunting penalty afterwards, but so what? Oh, man, what a hit that was.
Objectionable conduct, taunting, Ottawa number 2. First down.
You know what? That's going to hurt the Renegades in yardage, but after a hit like this, you've got to taunt a little bit. Oh, baby.
Just in case Pringle didn't know what train hit him, it was the number 2 Express.
Well, I tell you what, you won't see a bigger one.
First and 10 at the 25, and Pringle is right back with his hands on the ball.
You know, last year, the Toronto Argonauts played against Mike Pringle, and there was a big hit in that one. Fletcher on Pringle, and they're talking about it years later, and here's another one that I guarantee will be talked about for a long time.
You're talking about that as number 1 all time?
Well, that's up there. That's as big as they come.
Nominated here tonight.
Wow.
Donovan Carter on Mike Pringle. But Pringle is winning the day. The touchdown toss.
John, that hit, that's what this game is about, that hit right there. That's why when you hear early in the game Joe Paopao talking about investing time and going out there and battling and fighting, which his team has done, this is the violence that these guys face week in and week out right here. If the hair on your back isn't standing on end right now, then you're half asleep. Whoa.
Ottawa defense hangs in and forces the Eskimos to kick for 3, and Fleming has that. So 3 more for the Edmonton total. It's 31-19 on Wendy's CFL Live. Just over 5 minutes to go. Just under 5 to go. Renegades first down under the cover, and he fired low. Bendras was the target of Kerry Joseph there.
Well, and Joe Paopao is gonna call out to this offense very soon and start getting in the hurry up and start moving this football. The clock is now an enemy. They're just 12 points down. That's 2 scores, but they have lots of time. And Kerry Joseph, maybe not quite accustomed to how much time he has in the game.
Maybe he hurried that a little bit because it wasn't a real good pass. Joseph with time here. Over the middle and nobody home. It was off the money there. Darryl Ray, number 83, was the intended receiver, and Joseph hurries 2 in a row.
Joseph hasn't been the same since he had that knee problem, and he's not limping quite as noticeably now, but he hasn't been on since he was hitting the knee, and he just can't. He doesn't seem like he can sit up. He's not throwing the football with the same authority. He's 0 for his last 7 and an interception.
And go.
And the interception went for points against. Here's Winston October for the Eskimos, picking his way through, and he's almost to midfield, stopped at the 54. 4:14 to go. The early Ottawa lead has evaporated. Pringle on first down, Edmonton.
This is what you love about Pringle, John, and this is why it is a pleasure to watch Mike Pringle play the game, because that hit he took from Donovan Carter would put a lot of guys on the sideline for a while.
And these are not amazing numbers for Mike Pringle, although he has a couple of receptions added in there as well.
Well, and a receiving touchdown, so he has 2 on the night in that category. But after that hit from Donovan Carter, he's still in there pounding away for yardage.
Ray is wrapped up. Derek Ford.
You know, and there's a couple of things that Ottawa should be building on right now. One is the play of their defense, and Ford's going to come around the corner and get pressure on the quarterback. The other is that hit from Donovan Carter. And that hit from Carter was right in front of the Ottawa bench. That's a good play with speed around the end from Derek Ford. Those 2 plays alone should be giving this Ottawa offense tons of momentum.
3:06 to go, and the Ottawa defense has forced the Eskimos into a punting situation here. Bendras, special teams player of the week, twice in July.
They need one now.
Stands up, ready to run. Takes the short side.
Fumbled that one straight out of bounds. Got a bit of a break there.
1st and 10 Ottawa when we return. We're 2:46 away from a conclusion here at Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa, and when we're done, Sports Center comes your way. Stories, scores, and highlights with Onright and O'Toole right after CFL football tonight. From the shotgun, Joseph elects to escape. Really had no other choice. Stopped short of the first down, wrapped up at about the 40. A.J. Glass getting back into the active lineup for the Eskimos made the tackle there.
Just as I suspected, they're going to call the plays on the line now. Half the time has gone since their last chance on the field for this offense. There's still time, though, to come back in this game. 2 scores down.
Down by 12. The Renegades look at 2nd and 4. DJ Flick had one drop in the end zone early. Can he make up for it here? Caught from behind after he's down to the 20-yard line.
It only takes a play or two like that, and you're right back in it. You know, Ottawa Renegades, Kerry Joseph has not seen a whole lot of playing action. He doesn't realize how much time he has. One little throw like that inside, and watch the speed of Flick take off down the middle.
49 yards for DJ Flick. The Renegades are set up inside the 25. Ottawa has to get to the end zone here, and in a hurry. Montana hangs on. He's to the 10. Quincy Coleman again. This could be a terrific finish.
Well, they got to keep battling that clock, so they continue to call the ball on the line of scrimmage and make sure the plays are called there. Quick out pass here to Denny Montana. He picks up another first down, and Smarts continues. Now they've been in the red zone a few times and come away with field goals. Can't afford it now.
Renegades did score a touchdown early, but settled for field goals more frequently on 1st and goal. There's the toss. It's deep enough. Catch is made. Touchdown, Renegades. DJ Flick dropped one earlier. Back there at the other end, he hangs on for dear life to this one, and dear life might be an understatement. Did you see him?
That was a perfect throw. Up over the top and dropped right in there nicely for DJ Flick, and he has made up for it, John, like you mentioned, because watch this throw from Kerry Joseph as he puts enough air on this so that it'll drop down up over the shoulder of Robert Grant, and DJ Flick, he made sure of that one.
He cradled it like a baby.
And the extra point, the convert team is one short right now.
1:43 remaining.
They're one short on the field, John, and Tynes thought about taking that timeout. They can't waste it now. They're going to need it.
31-25 on the board right now. And Lawrence Tynes pounds that one deep into the end zone. We're in for a finish. It's a 5-pointer in Ottawa tonight. Oh, what might have been for Joe Paopau's Ottawa Renegades tonight. There's still an opportunity with 1:43 to go, but there were missed opportunities much earlier in this ball game.
Without question, you look at this game, it's been a tale of two halves. The Ottawa Renegades really, they deserve better fate if they end up losing this game simply because of the way they played for basically 2.5 quarters. And in the first half, controlled the ball, controlled the line of scrimmage, and got tremendous play out of their quarterback. Another nice throw from Kerry Joseph. His first real good throw since he's been banged up with that knee. Stepped in there, and DJ Flick made sure. Now they have enough time to kick this ball deep at 1:43.
Get it back and
try and get it 2 and out. The Edmonton Eskimos will line up their onside kick team, what's called the hands team. Winston October is real short on this one. But I think there's still time for Ottawa to kick this deep and kick it over their heads.
Renegades need 5 points for the victory.
And they won't. They'll try a pooch kick in the middle.
And it's short, taken by the Eskimos and handled easily by Terry Vaughn. So Edmonton gets field position out of a short kick, and the Renegades never really got close to coming up with the ball. 1:39 to play.
This is a bit surprising, and I'll tell you why, because you're kicking it in between the short kick and the deep kick. And if you're going to try and kick it deep, you're relying on your defense for a quick 2 and out. If you go for the onside kick, basically
you want an opportunity
it's a 1 or nothing.
To get it.
Yeah, it's like you got to try and get it right there and move the ball there. In between, I'm not sure the reasoning on that one.
That was about a 20-yard kick, and what they were really hoping for to recover it would be around 10. Here's Pringle. Donovan Carter steps up to help out with the tackle and limit the gain to 4 yards. Tonight's game story brought to you by Sport Check, Canada's largest sporting goods retailer.
Ricky Ray's come on in the second half. Jason Tucker, a big part of that.
8 catches, 123 yards, and a couple of TDs.
Kerry Joseph has played well. He had his knee banged up, and look at that in the second half passing. Edmonton was real dominant until that last Renegade drive. They caught up there. And then let's not forget the big hit between Mike Pringle and Donovan Carter, because no matter how this game ends up, that's a highlight for me. I'm telling you that right now.
The game story for Sport Check. The best value. In for a fine finish in Ottawa.
Crowd, now you see the Renegades on the field trying to get their crowd behind them and see if they can get a 13th man on the field and cause some disruptions for Ricky Ray.
Huge play for the Renegades defense, looking at 2nd and 6. Ricky Ray looks to put it up. The out almost intercepted, or at least the opportunity was hanging right there for the rookie Chandler Smith, who stepped in front of Vaughn and would have been gone for the game-winning touchdown, or at least the lead for the time being.
Well, he had a chance. He jumped on Terry Vaughn. He got aggressive, and that's saying something right there for a guy playing at that halfback spot for the first time tonight, and he was right there. All he had to do was hang on. Terry Vaughn, John, became the defensive back.
I was just going to say, he turned into the defender, didn't he?
He did, because Chandler Smith had the best chance at it, and Vaughn pulled his hands away.
Here's Fleming. Waiting Bendras. Hasn't had a huge return tonight, and Fleming won't allow him one here. Nailing that one out with a fine kick at the 15-yard line. 45-yard punt. No return there.
John, as a quarterback, all you want is enough time on the clock and the ball in your hands with a chance to win.
Maybe you'd like another 20 yards from where the Renegades are beginning here, back deep in their own territory.
Well, I just want to remind you, though, of the DJ Flick play.
There you go.
And one short pass.
I would just
ate up a bunch of them.
I just want to add to your wish list. You know, give it to me with the 30-yard line in view rather than the 20-yard line. Here it is, the last ditch for the Renegades. Shotgun. Joseph. Nice throw, far side, wide open. It'll be a first down. And out of bounds.
Boy, that was a gun.
Danny Montana.
That was a 60-yard throw on a rope to Danny Montana. And I love the composure of Kerry Joseph right now. He's calmly trying to call the plays. No matter how much time is on the clock, you have to stay composed. And he is right now.
It's a 5-point game. The Renegades had the early lead. The Eskimos have battled back. First down, Ottawa. Pump fake. Will he get it away? He escapes at least. And gets to the sideline. 1:05 left. Abdullah over there to run out the Ottawa quarterback, Kerry Joseph.
Went for the double move on the outside. They wanted to get that wide receiver. I believe it was Demetrius Bendras on a curl or an out and go. And it took too long to execute a pump fake. And he ran out of time.
Joseph picks up a couple. He's looking at 2nd down and 7. Under the cover, Josh Ronick. He's had a nice night. Can he turn this into a first down? Yes. This guy has played a whale of a game. If there were a Glenn's Gladiator tonight, I'd be helping you vote for Ronick.
Yeah, I might be leaning that way too.
I'd just be prodding you a little bit.
Yeah,
that's
the
all.
other guy I'd be considering right now would be Kerry Joseph. Remember, he's playing on a banged up knee. You know he's playing in a lot of pain. He has a chance to drive this team. There's still time.
45 seconds left. First down, Ottawa. Joseph stands in, won't get this one away. And he just couldn't see the big picture on that one.
Well, that defensive line for the Edmonton Eskimos stood up. You know they've got to be tired right now. They're reaching way down. Try and find just one more little ounce of gasoline in the tank. See if they can't get it done. And it's a good push up the middle by Dorian Boose, and he's flushed into that pocket and then goes down.
36 seconds to go as the play is whistled in. Joseph over the middle. He'll be short of the first down near the 50.
He'll be short, but obviously 3-down football. And with 30 seconds, you have enough time for probably 5 to 7 plays if you hurry. Now the most important one is the next one. Simply because it'll be 3rd down. And this will help Kerry Joseph because an Edmonton Eskimo is down on the field. So they don't burn a timeout. They'll have a chance to regroup because this is the biggest play of the game for them right now.
Looking at 3rd down and 4 to go. There is nothing left for the Renegades if they don't get a first down here. Interesting huddle when you look at the veteran head coach Joe Paopao and the rookie quarterback
John, when you're in this situation, and whether you're on offense or defense, but specifically offense right now, Kerry Joseph trying to get the play call. He's the one who's got to be composed in the huddle, and he's got to walk in there, and the rest of his team will look in his eyes, and that's where they find out if they can believe or not.
Injured Eskimos, number 97, Rashid Jeante.
And if you're a receiver now, right now for the Ottawa Renegades, and at this level in professional football, what you're saying to yourself right now is throw it to me. You put the ball in my hands, I'll get your first down. And this is one of the great things about the game of football, is that it often comes down to 1, 2, maybe 3 plays in a game. And you look to your leader for the confidence, and then each guy to himself says, throw it to me. Throw it to me and I'll make it happen for you. And if you're on the defensive side of the ball in the Edmonton Eskimos, and especially in that secondary, and you're trying to go through that same process right now. You're saying, okay, game's on the line.
Come my way? Is that what you're yelling?
Throw it in my zone. Throw it in my zone and let me make the play. And if you're not thinking that, you will not be on the field long at this level. Meanwhile, those guys up front are trying to reach down and find some more gas. They need a couple more plays defensively, and they're going through the same thing in their mind. Come at me. Run the ball in my zone. Throw it to my man. Let me make the play.
Kerry Joseph on this drive, Glenn, 3 of 3 for 39 yards, but this is the drive right here and now. This has it all on the table for the Ottawa Renegades. 3rd down and 4 yards to go. 26 seconds on the clock. The snap is high. Joseph unloads. He's got a first down. And Montana gets out of bounds. A couple to Montana on this drive. And he's been able to get out of bounds very quickly.
That catch over the middle in the 3rd quarter to Montana paid off right there. Confidence builder, and that's the biggest catch he's made tonight, and they have a chance.
So the drive continues with time disappearing. 19.7 seconds on the clock here at Frank Clair.
They need one play of about 25, 30 yards in the next 2. They probably get 3 or maybe 4.
Joseph stands in, has to scramble, should get rid of it. Vendras was coming back for the ball, and he was covered by A.J. Gass.
Boy, they had Darrell Ray wide open down the seam. Kerry Joseph could not see him. And if Darrell Ray could wave or yell or do something, get Joseph attention, they'd be looking at the doorstep. Because Joseph was flushed out of there, he took most of the time off the clock. He now has a couple of chances, maybe. And they may just try and load it up and try a deep one here.
8.9 seconds to go. The Renegades need a touchdown for the win. They trail by 5. Joseph for Montana. He'll get out. 3.3 seconds left.
John, now that's a good play. It's a big play for them because it ate up about 15 yards. Now with a 35-yard pass, you get to the goal line. It's more realistic. It's not necessarily a Hail Mary to one side or the other. You can actually run a pattern and get there. With 3 seconds left, you got one shot.
One shot. 3.3 seconds. Kerry Joseph has never seen this before. One chance for all the marbles, one chance for an Ottawa win. Unloads, and Vendras turned the other way. Vendras was in the area, looked to be open, and Shannon Garrett was waiting to put an end on what might have been a miracle comeback for the Ottawa Renegades.
On the last play of the game, throwing it to the right guy, just some communication. There's the half field on the opposite side. They're going to try and get down the field, pretty well covered over there. And Vendras, he had a bit of a seam. Had Kerry Joseph thrown that real high, almost like a punt, Vendras would have had time to gather himself up. But tremendous effort and quite a battle tonight.
Terrific evening of football at Frank Clair Stadium. The Eskimos come back for a 31-26 win.
Tomorrow night on Wendy's Friday Night Football, a doubleheader. Damon Allen and the Toronto Argonauts taking on Damon's old team, the BC Lions, who are without Dave Dickinson tomorrow night. Saskatchewan will be in Calgary, so make plans to join us, please. Player of the Game is brought to you by Rogers AT&T, and there is your Player of the Game with 35% of the vote from you. Quarterback Ricky Ray, 3 touchdown passes tonight, helped Edmonton rally. In Ottawa, they took the lead in the fourth quarter and never looked back. Sports Center is next. Thanks for watching, everybody. You are watching TSN, Canada's sports leader.